And let's introduce Greg. So Greg Gilmartin is a Connecticut writer, TV producer, and director with over 40 years of media and marketing experience. His career includes a dozen years as a news and sports broadcaster in Florida, Massachusetts, and WTIC in Hartford, Connecticut. Through the 80s and 90s, Greg was a public address announcer for the Hartford Whalers, New England Blizzard, and Hartford Wolfpack. Greg honed his writing skills as a freelance journalist with a special interest in sports, fast cars, and boats. He was marketing director at Ski Sundown for 6 years and has been producing TV since 1980 with a wide range of projects and clients that continues to this day. So please welcome Greg Gilmartin.
Thank you, Jenna. Spy Island, it's a hell of a tale to tell. Booze and bets, broken hearts, stolen secrets, old school spies, government lies, sailors at the oar drinking mudslides. A murder, a manhunt, submarine sabotage, the feds, the Reds, digital espionage. Petrika's in the cellar, Luke's on the lam, even the Southeastern Lighthouse is in on the scam. From Coney Island to Block Island, you can run, hide, spy, but make no mistake, they're coming for you, and someone has to die. That's all I got. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I appreciate it. Spy Island is a work of love for me, and it's all about things I've been thinking about, things I've experienced, and things I kind of made up. And I think that's what makes a good story. And I hope that you have an opportunity to read it and make it a part of your experience in escaping from the chaos that we are dealing with in the last few months. I'm not sure that everyone here is looking for secrets on how to steal secrets from the government. I'm not here to give you that, but this is a story about spying, and it's a story about an individual who maybe makes some bad choices and has to suffer the consequences. They say, you know, as you're probably aware, spying's been around for forever, it seems. They say the very first spy was the wife of a husband who was suspected of cheating on her by a local lady of the night, thus making it the second oldest profession. But it's been around for a long time. I myself learned to spy as a child, and you may have been familiar with the situation yourself if you played any Little League baseball, where they taught us how to steal signs. And that has come a long way since. It's much more sophisticated, as you have probably heard if you're a baseball fan, and they're using television cameras and so on. And that's the same way that spycraft has expanded through the decades, through the centuries, from people just overhearing things to now people basically listening in on virtually conversations that we have that we think are private. And they're not, and probably never will be again. I really got officially into spying, if you will, when I joined the Air Force. And ironically, at the time, my girlfriend was going to school near Syracuse, and there was a school for the Air Force near Syracuse, and I volunteered and said, I'll go there. I had no idea what was going to happen. And they taught me how to speak Russian. And what I became was a voice intercept processing specialist. And that sent me to Germany and then eventually to Turkey, where in the late 60s, during the Cold War, at the peak of it, we were monitoring the Russian Air Force flying around. And that, of course, got me interested in the enemy and the technology. And we basically listened to every day to the various units as they flew about East Germany and along the Crimean Peninsula and the Black Sea and so on. And while there may have been issues in my brain about living with the military and that environment, at the same time, it was fascinating the technology that I had been exposed to. And through the day-to-day monitoring of the Russians, we were able to figure out how many airplanes they had, who their pilots were, where they were stationed, what they were doing, what kind of exercises, what the capabilities of the aircraft were. And this was repeated day in and day out. And that just came to be a part of that gathering of information that has probably been 1 million times now in terms of what they are capable of knowing and understanding, and then somewhere along the line, they're analyzing it and figuring out what are we going to do about the bad guys. The irony back then, those of you who are in the service are familiar probably with the Stars and Stripes, which is the daily newspaper. And we had a lot of units in Germany, F4 Phantoms. And you could pick up a copy of the newspaper and say, well, the F4 Phantom 2915th unit with its 37 jets, and it has 29 pilots and 26 guys here, and their support unit. So all the stuff we were trying to figure out by monitoring the Russians, they could almost sit there and read in what was available for the public. But there's a lot of that going on today. And I think that we all have our own political feelings about it, and the infrastructure of intelligence gathering is as large as it has ever been. It's sometimes hard to tell who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. There's no less than 17 government agencies that are focused on gathering some level of intelligence. And obviously, in our space age, we're up with satellites now. We're able to monitor phone conversations. We're able to listen in. There's still people on the ground. There's still spies, if you will, who are stationed at various places, trying to infiltrate the various organizations. It's interesting when you bring it home here to New London, Connecticut, which is, I'm out of the Mystic area, and we've got ourselves a major military industrial complex. And that became one of the focuses of my attention for Spy Island. And it just came down to the idea of what if a guy who's just trying to get by, you know, got himself into trouble because A, he likes to drink every now and then, but he loves to play cards. And those can get you into trouble if you've got somebody looking for information that you might have access to. The spy world calls it mice or rice, mice being money, ideology, coercion, and ego. Or instead of money, you have reward. And the whole idea, these are the four categories that the counter spies try to work to get you to think, okay, I should be able to help you if you give me this. So again, money seems to be the most dominant one. Coercion is another if you get caught in a compromising situation. Ego makes you feel good because you're suddenly important, even though it may be to the enemy. Again, every day, we often question who the enemy is. Again, these are answers that everybody has to come up with on their own. But in my case with Spy Island, we have a guy who basically works at the Globalist Marine Boat Yard, which happens to be up in New London. And there's been a new development, and he has access to that, and he makes a decision based on the fact that he owes the Russian mob over $100,000 because he got into a card game and he got a little drunk, and a lot of things happen. So when you are threatened and you're put in a situation where if you don't deliver, you have to, he has to decide whether he's going to deliver or not. And that's what the book is about, because he decides that, well, okay, he'll do the thing, but then he has second thoughts and runs away. Now, if you're going to run away and try and hide from everybody, where would you go? I happen to have been sailing around Block Island for over 30 years. I love the island. It's very much a part of my history. And that's what I decided to do, is to write about Block Island. And that is our Spy Island. Of course, our guy runs away. He runs away to Block Island. Now, you may say, why go to Block Island? It's a small place. Well, it's a lot more fun to write about Block Island than to run off to Africa or run off to South America or something. So that's what the book is really all about, is him running. Well, who's he running from? Well, of course, as soon as the word gets out that the secret's been stolen, and that's a key part, the whole world wakes up and says, whoa, we got to go after this guy. It starts with NCIS, FBI. Pretty soon the entire intelligence community of the United States is looking for him. And then, of course, you know, there are spies out there who are keeping an eye on what our intelligence communities are doing. And when new technologies are developed, there's people who go, hey, we want to get a little bit of that ourselves. And it could be the Chinese, could be the Japanese. You know, this is about submarines. There's over 500 submarines in the world. And Bangladesh has 3 submarines of its own. Now, why would Bangladesh need submarines? I don't know. Toys for the boys. Hard to say. But clearly, there is a fascination with that technology and that system of deterrence, offense, defense, however you want to use it. And that creates interest among all these various countries. And what they do is some of them latch on and they try and find our guy. Now various clues get thrown out. Part of it is the Russian mob, because they're the ones who are directly connected with the coercion, if you will. And then there's the regular Russians who are here, who are looking to see how they can advance their cause, as they have embassies throughout the whole United States. So all of that evolves, and a lot of characters come out of it. I think that's one of the things my books have. It's very character driven. It's a story. We've all seen the James Bond movies. We've all read John le Carre. We know about the spy world. I'm not trying to recreate that. I'm just trying to take people and put them in the middle of that situation and see how they react individually. So in the end, they end up at Block Island, and stuff happens. And I think it comes to an exciting conclusion. And I hope that all of you will, I hope that all of you will get a chance to read the book and find out what exactly happened. Anybody have any questions? This is my second novel. So the first one, again, written back in the 90s, was kind of a different approach, dealt with sailing, which is one of my obsessions. And it also tells a story about unsuspecting people who get caught up in a serious situation. This happens to be a crew, a sailboat crew. And again, they go through a various series of events and actions that are exciting and take them all over the world. And just a lot of fun to develop that. So that's pretty much where I stand as far as Spy Island is concerned. It is available. And if anybody has any questions or thoughts, I'd be more than happy to try and answer them. You may have to unmute yourself if...
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
When is the book going to be available?
Right now it is available. Yeah, it's available on Amazon.
Okay.
It's available at your local bookstores. And you can get it both in, a digital version on Kindle, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. If you're in downtown Mystic, it's available at Bank Square Books in Savoy.
Okay.
So I don't know how many copies are left around Connecticut. I did have an opportunity to tour all the Connecticut bookstores and drop off a few copies. But
Awesome.
your best bet is go online, and you'll have it in a couple of days.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I just got back from Block Island last night.
Oh, really?
I worked there, so it's,
Oh, do you? Okay.
my wife sent me the link, and I'm like, oh my God, I gotta talk to this guy. I want to get the book, definitely.
You know, the oar is, as a sailor, the oar has been a favorite haunt of mine, and some of the other friends I have who I see are out here. And the penultimate action takes place at the oar.
Awesome.
It's pretty exciting, actually, and where everything comes together. I like the whole concept of the oar, small little community, and suddenly you've got a dozen spies from different countries who are showing up, and George is sitting there, and he'll surprise you with one of his actions. I don't know if you know George, but he's the manager, has been there forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
yeah.
And the Southeast Light, of course, is that's another icon in my own personal experience, in that sailing around the island. It's an important landmark, and it's certainly a spectacular view from there. And
Oh, it's amazing.
all they're trying to do with it is really good. I don't know if you can see this, but this is a picture from the early 90s.
Oh,
And that's when they actually did move the lighthouse.
yeah, they had to move it back. It was going to go
They
off.
had to
the
move it
cliff.
back. That
That was something.
that plays a key role in the novel,
Oh, good.
because I was fortunate in that I knew some of the guys who were actually involved in that work, because they were sailing on a boat that I was on. So we were familiar with it and thought it was a fascinating architectural maneuver.
Amazing, isn't it, the way they did it?
Yeah, just amazing.
All right,
There's also Coney Island. I don't know if anybody's from the New York area, but Coney Island is very much a part of my history. I grew up literally a half a mile from Coney Island as a kid in Brooklyn. And it just was the obvious choice to, plus it is an enclave of the Russians right now. The Russian community is there, which is all good. I see someone here had a question. Do you think the Russians are still involved in our presidential election? Sure they are. What do I know, though? I only know what I read. But I would say that if they're not, why aren't they? If that's what they want to do, you know. I think we all got to be conscious of what we're reading and what makes sense and what doesn't. There always seems to be a jump in logic. Okay, the Russians are involved. That's a headline. Well, you know, I get to read Facebook and so on, and you have to decide, what are you going to believe? And then if you don't believe it, or you do, you still check it out. Sue asked, how long did it take to write? Funny story, Sue. I don't have it here, but the opening chapter was written in 1994. I finished my first book, had some leftover words apparently, and I just had an image, and I started writing, and then I put it aside, and I had no idea where it was going or what it was going, but it created a couple of characters. And I didn't pick it up again for another 15 years. Once I got it back into the story, it took about a year to write the whole thing. So we finished it up in October of last year. Published it in November, and it's been out. And then all of a sudden we had a pandemic. So all good. Here's one from Allie rather. A newbie. Any tips? Well, my feeling is you got to do the process, which means sitting down and writing. You got to be able to spend time on the words, because that's really where it is. And even if you're just wasting time by writing words, at some point the story will come out, and the words will start forming, and the ideas will start forming, and then all of a sudden that begins to build the thread, and then the thread grows, and suddenly you've got an idea and a paragraph, a chapter, and then maybe you've got a story. Like I said, my first chapter, you know, guy and a girl, girl's being hit on, guy comes into her rescue, hero. Okay, now what? Where do we go from here? He disappears because the cops are coming. And so he disappears into the dunes, and that's how the novel opens. Why is he there? Where did he come from? I didn't know, but eventually I found out. So spycraft aspect, yes, exciting research for that. You really do have to research. They say write what you know, but I think it's important to write what you want to know. And what I have found over the years is that what I'm interested in leads me down the path. I've got 2 more books that are in the works right now, and one of them is going to be more of stuff I've experienced, but one of them is stuff I have not experienced, and I have to learn from the people who have experienced it how to go about doing it. And it gets you into the world, you hear what's happened, what hasn't happened, and then you figure out, how am I going to play that role if I step myself into that place. If I became that guy, or here's a bad thing that's happening, I want to change that. How would I go and do that? And you have your own ideas, make them up. Make them up. How many Whaler fans we got out there? The Whalers were one of the things that was important for me. I worked for the Hartford Whalers for many years until they left. And a good buddy of mine also worked for the Whalers, and we became very good friends because we saw each other at all the games. Well, I had started the novel, my first one, and put it aside after it got rejected by 8 or 9 publishers. And he showed up one day and he said, "Hey, Greg, I've written a novel." And he hands me a manuscript, and he went out and got it published himself. And I said, "Jesus, if he can do that, I'm going to do that." So I dusted off the first book and published it. And that became a major step in my life in terms of, okay, look what I did. I got a book now. And then the next book began to evolve from that. It took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but it came down to my connection with the Whalers, meeting with Bob Muldoon. It's Brass Bonanza, Plays Again. I recommend it if you're a Whaler fan. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And here I am in Brantford this evening. Bruins fan. Soft spot for Connecticut's team. That's good. I happen to work in radio for many years, and I worked in Worcester and covered the Bruins for 2 years, 2 seasons. And it was actually in 1976, where I covered them. And that's fun. You can't take anything from the Bruins. They are one of the, original teams, and it's all good for the Bruins. And there was nothing better than a Bruin-Whaler hockey game, complete with the fights that would take place in the stands as well as the fights that would take place outside after the games. So that was all just part of the game of hockey and a game of fandom. So it'll be tough nowadays with them playing with nobody in the stands. But Loretta says, "I imagine you're motivated by the love of writing." I guess I am. As a radio disc jockey, you don't write stuff down. Usually you're just blabbing away. And you can tell I can blab away if I need to. But after a while, you get things, you have to organize them because you're doing a commercial or whatever it might be. So words begin to take form. And I wrote newspaper articles for years. And again, you're trying to communicate. And there's a difference between speaking and a difference between writing. I must believe that my style is a combination of both. My books tend to read okay if you read them out loud. They may not be perfect English, but they sound good. So words are important. I think they mean something. And I think you've got to be conscious of where you're going with them. And they also can create paths that are good to take you where you want the reader to go, so you can bring them back. Or if not bring them back, send them on further. And I find myself having opened my mind in a lot of ways from writing by saying, this is good as a writer, as a novelist, to take people down a path, as opposed to what's proper and what's prim and what's the way to do things. I think you push people to their edges, and then to come up with some way of getting them either back to a straight and narrow or to a whole new approach to life or the particular topic that you might be dealing with. It's great to see so many of you there. I'm glad a few folks I recognize, although they're afraid to show their faces apparently. Hey, Hutch, how are you? And there's Jenna.
Hi, I'm just popping in because it looks like we had another question. Somebody asked about the other book behind you. I'm assuming that's your first one?
Yeah, Crew? I like this book. This was written about a sailboat crew, and they get involved with an international cocaine dealer who's trying to create his own cartel. And it just happens to be that there's a mine that is in a location in the mountains where the government is not looking. We're talking, this was written in the 90s. We're talking about a tremendous increase in government attacks on the various cocaine dealers in Colombia. So the jungles were where they were making the cocaine. Well, this guy finds himself with a place in the mountains where he's able to do it. Well, it happens to be owned by the mentor of our hero, PJ McDonough, who has a sailboat crew. And PJ's kind of an entrepreneur out of Mystic, the fast car caravan. And one of the things that he has developed is a plastic engine that runs on methane, so that it's kind of this environmental thing that is good for the world. And they find themselves under attack, and the crew realizes that they got to band together, otherwise their lives are in danger. So it relates to being a crew, a group of people, friends, buddies who each have talents. They bring those talents together and they go and fight a guy against immeasurable odds. And they have to go up into the mountains of Colombia. So there's a little bit of a travelogue feel to it. There's certainly a life and death experience. There's some military stuff, a lot of airplanes. I'm fascinated by aviation and heroism. You know, people having to step up and perform at a key moment. And that's fun to write about because, you know, you want it to be successful. You want some kind of a happy ending or an ending that makes sense. And that's what happens in Crew. And there's a sequel coming. Ironically, I lost the manuscript and I found it like 3 months ago, literally behind a dresser. And I've started to write that down and rewrite it. So we got some writing to do down in the future.
Hey, Greg, going back to Spy Island,
Yes.
because I can't figure out how to send a chat, even though I've been using Zoom for 2 years. I'll quote myself. How close to reality is the sub-technology you reference in the book? Did you learn anything from buying drinks for submariners?
Some of my good friends are submariners. Some of them are high-end technology guys. I will be honest with you that every single one of them, I have presented the technology that is presented in the book. And basically what it is a communications device that allows subs to communicate under the water at speed, which they can't do now. So if they're 800 feet under the water, you can't reach them. They have to come up and surface, and that exposes them. I have presented this concept to everybody, and I only get wry smiles. I do know that about $2 billion was spent on it in like 6-7 years ago, and people are still looking into lasers. But nobody has threatened me with arrest on violating any intelligence confidence. And most of the guys, they wouldn't even tell me how fast subs actually go. So whatever is written down there, it's either close to it, and or certainly I would say it's not under what the performance capabilities are. So people want to ask where they can pick up a copy of Crew. By the way, you might recognize that gentleman there who just asked the question. He's one of the guys was on the Crew. And when I did the book, it had to do with a lot of people that I knew at the time. And, you know, he's part of the Crew, has been part of the Crew for 30 years. Where can you pick up Crew? You can pick it up again at Amazon. You can go to Bank Square Books. Virtually every bookstore will have a copy. If they don't have it in the store, they can have it ordered within a day or so. But Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all your basic outlets, they're going to have it. Oh, and someone said they found it. There you go. Perfect. So somebody mentioned a storyboard behind me. I do. It's called Can't Sail in Jail, strategically positioned. One of the things that I have to do is when the thoughts come flying, you got to eventually organize them. And if I have a weakness, it's just too many characters. And sometimes people get confused. I get confused. But I like writing about the characters. So storyboard's very important. Keep an idea, where are we? What's supposed to happen next? Why did this happen and how does it relate to that? Oh yeah, I forgot about this guy. What's his trait? What does he have to do? Where is he going to come in? So that's just a reminder. And we'll see how long it's going to take me to finish. I'm close with Can't Sail in Jail. And it's going to be, again, locally oriented, chasing the American dream. Mudheads, Mystic River Mudheads Sailing Association, all sailboat racers, as well as a couple of immigrants who come into the country looking for a change from their lifestyle. They're out of Albania, tough country, Albania. And they run into one of the largest marijuana drug smugglers that Connecticut has ever seen. True story. So we're mixing truth with fiction and trying to make that work as a sort of a mad, muddy world, all in good fun. So good, I hope everybody's reading. There certainly is time for that. And books are important, and I have to tell you a funny story. I flew out to Block Island and sold a book right away to the pilot when we arrived at the terminal. And he was like, okay, cool. And I told him it was about Block Island and so on. So he's got the book, and not 5 minutes later, we're standing outside waiting to get on the airplane. He comes running out and says, you didn't tell me I could get it for $5 in Kindle. Yeah. So he paid list price, which is all good. But whatever you pay for it, it's good for us authors, because I'll tell you, we're not making a lot of money. You know, we're waiting for movie rights. That's what it's all about. Susan, what made me start writing? Well, communication and having a story to tell. That's definitely the simplest answer. You want to tell something, you need a voice. You feel like you want a voice. Like I said, I was in radio, I had a voice, but the sitting down and the writing part, that takes a little bit more. It's not out and gone. It's write it, it's there, and now you're stuck with it. And people can live by it or just pass it off as another moment of experience for them. Thank you, Loretta. Very engaging, and she read Spy Island. Good. Sequel coming, right? Everybody wants a sequel for Spy Island, so we'll see how that goes. Anyone else? All right. I have to tell you, I would normally be out sailboat racing today. I actually run sailboat races, and we normally do the Essex Rum Challenge, but they're doing a different thing. So I'm glad that allowed me to free myself up for the day. Yeah, question from Susan again. Working in nonfiction, how do you get to fiction? I'm a control freak. In fiction, you can control things. You can control the way people are. There's a certain thing about communicating what happened. There's a certain thing about making up what happens. And the hope is that you will teach at the same time that you're making it up. Avid sailors here enjoyed. You do know the oar, even the stairs. Yes, indeed. Fiction and nonfiction, historical fiction, I've heard that. There's a friend of mine is working on a book now. And that's what, you know, you try and take specific details that are true, it can be traced, and then you add other activity that maybe can't be traced, but works within the confines of the true event, the true timeline. So I'm sticking to fiction right now. I did a lot of newspaper reporting, magazine writing, things like that. Nothing very deep. It was about sailboat racing. It was about automobiles, Cobras, racing cars, and stuff like that. Again, that's just all fun, adventure, and people having a good time with their lives. So it's been quite enjoyable in that regard. You get to know people, you get to meet people, and they let you into their life so that you can tell their story. With the fiction, you get to tell your story, whatever it might be, in the form of somebody else's. Excellent. My favorite part of the writing process, I think coming up with the ideas, waking up and saying, oh my gosh, that's great, and getting that down on paper. There's nothing better than being energized when an idea falls into place that you've been struggling with. So I love the concept of, I got it. Oh, that's going to happen. And when that happens, this happens. Perfect. Then we get to here, because we got to get to here. And that's exciting. But the writing is almost the easiest part. The hardest part is selling the books, is turning it into the marketing game. And it's quite amazing how many people would love to call you up and say, hi, if you give me money, I can make sure that you become a rich man. And I'm going, I don't have any money. How do I give you the money first? They're not ready to do that. The process for self-publishing, you do it if you can afford to do it, period. If you can't afford to do it, you don't do it. If you want to wait around and get, like I said, the first novel rejected by 8 of the finest publishers in the world. I remember telling my agent at the time, I don't care who publishes it. It doesn't have to be a fine publisher, just anybody. And in the end, I became the publisher. That's good enough. I've been making movies and videos for years, and I realized I'm the producer, I'm the guy. You know, maybe people pay you a little bit to do commercials and things like that, but so different than making a book. And then you have to market it and get it out. So you do it book by book, day by day, person by person, and you hope the word spreads, and you hope that some movie producer hears it and loves it. That's for the quick, short answer to get rich. The richness comes from getting the story down and feeling satisfied that a few people liked it. And that's what I like. Here's an interesting, sweet read. Your characters remind me of a short order cook building an omelet. I love to make omelets. It's all good. Great. Well, if we've exhausted your brains and exhausted mine, I think it's time to pick up a book and read it. Mine or somebody else's. Again, you can get me online, Amazon.com. You can go to greggilmartin.com. That's my website, and you can purchase it there through Life Rich Publishing. They're a subsidiary of Reader's Digest, and you know, it's a silly game. I make more money if you buy it from them, but it's a lot easier on Amazon. You know, Amazon is the answer because they're internationally available. So wherever you get it, it's a good thing, and it's a good read, and the important part is you enjoy it. And if you don't, let me know. Tell me what you hate. We're still writing books. We can change things. Okay, go to Block Island too. That's the next step. They can use the business. But wear a mask. When is the next book? When does it? Yeah, fella was late. Next book, as I said, I don't want to put a date on it, but it's close. We're halfway done. It's been plotted out. Just have to put the words together. Maybe 100 pages to go. I think we'll be within a couple of months. I'm hoping by the end of the summer, which is coming faster than I thought. Thank you all. Jenna, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add?
Nope,
But-
just that thank you for coming, and I hope you all enjoyed Greg's talk, and very interesting. And go buy his book. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great,
Right.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
And you're going to have a recording, right, available?
Yes, I will post it to the library's YouTube page as soon as it's all finished converting, and I will send around a link to everybody who registered, so you can view it again or share it with anybody who you think would be interested. So
Okay,
that's all I've got.
thanks all.
Bye.
Thank you, Jenna.
No problem.